All right, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome us again on this week's Safeoclock Health and Safety Interactive Workshop. One welcome to those who are joining us for the first time. I saw one name that I'm not familiar with. So if you are joining us for the first time, you are highly welcome. This is Safeoclock Health and Safety Interactive Workshop, where we health and safety professionals, we discuss a particular topic selected for the week. That is what we do here in Safeoclock Health and Safety Interactive Workshop. And for this week, we've selected to talk about workplace fire safety. So like we do every week, we'll start with a brief presentation that is led by any of us. So this week, I'll be leading the presentation. And after this short presentation, we'll take time to discuss the topics. Everyone gives his own experience, discuss how they implement workplace fire safety in their workplace. And if there are questions, we ask questions and deliberate on them, answer them ourselves. And where we need further research, we go and research and come back later. So this is it. And we'll be talking about workplace fire safety. Fire is something that everyone is familiar with, even if you've not witnessed fire incident before, but you've heard stories and you hear the news about fire outbreak in different locations. And you are also familiar with how much disaster fire can cause. So that is why it's very important that we pay close attention to fire prevention at workplaces. So I will start from little statistics that about the information we have. In US, it says that about 5,000 people lose their lives to fire incidents in the United States every year. And about thousands of disabling injuries are recorded each year in fire-related incidents in US. Also, jobs are lost because you know that when fire happens, especially in the workplace or maybe factories, organizations, if there is fire outbreak, the entire building will be broken down and people will have to stay out of job for some time until repairs are made. So these are various reasons why we need to give a close attention and pay close attention to fire safety in workplaces. Let me start by talking about fire triangle and how fire comes about. Fire comes about as a result of a reaction between the fuel, the oxygen, and the heat. And we are meant to understand that without any component of this three, fire will not be sustained. If fuel is removed, then the fire will automatically or gradually die down. If oxygen is removed, fire will automatically or gradually die down. The same thing goes to the ignition source. If there is no ignition source, then there will be no fire. So that is what the fire triangle is teaching us or trying to remind us that in order to prevent fire in the workplace, even at home, that we should ensure that these three components are not brought together. In instances, the easiest way or easiest one that should be kept away is heat source, because the fuel, the oxygen is always available. In every location, wherever you are, oxygen is available. Fuel is also available because you will have clothing, you have combustible materials, you have paper. So these are all sorts of fuels. But one major component that should be kept very far away from all these from a fuel is the ignition source, that is the heat. So that is one major thing that we should keep proclaiming, and we should keep reminding our workforce and our workers that ignition source should never come near the fuel, should never come near us where we have high amount of oxygen. All right, then let's look at workplace fire emergency. In case fire happens in the workplace, what are the major things or the right steps that anybody need to take? The first one is to raise alarm. If you discover fire, you should raise alarm to alert other people, because if people are not alerted, they will get engulfed in the fire. So the first thing is to raise alarm and exit the building. While exiting the building, you should not return to take anything that you think you forgot. If you forgot anything, you forgot your mobile phone, never return to the fire area to take it. And the best place to go to is the assembly point. It's not time to start going home or time to start going inside another building, because at that time there would be head count, and the head count will be able to help determine if everybody is safe or if somebody is trapped. So if people are not going to the assembly point, then it will be difficult for the management to know how many people are safe or how many people are trapped in the fire. And if fire rescue team has arrived in the workplace, we should be able to give account of the people. We should let them know that this is the number of people at work today, and this is the number of people that are safe at the assembly point. So that is why we need to keep reminding the workforce or the workers that the best place to go at the event of a fire emergency is the assembly point, which will give us room to be able to account for everybody, keep record of people who are safe. Please, when you join, you should mute your microphone so that you not give us back. All right, so let's proceed. Then the next very important thing that we should not forget to remind our people is types of fire extinguishers and how they are used. Because wrong use of fire extinguisher can also cause more damages than how the fire was. Maybe the fire was still at the ambient stage, or the fire was still small. And if wrong fire extinguisher is used, then it can increase the fire. For instance, during cooking fire from cooking oil, if water fire extinguisher is used on it, we know what will happen. It will expand the fire more. It will, because the water will carry the fire and it will travel to different distances, and the fire will get bigger. So that is why we should advocate and should train our workers to recognize the type of fire extinguisher to use at any fire. So the first one is water. Water is used on class A types of fires. Class A type of fire are the fires involving wood, paper, combustible materials. So class water should never be used on flammable liquids like oils. It should also never be used on live electric equipment. Maybe fire coming from a DB, or fire coming from electrical equipment. We should never use water fire extinguisher on it. So the next one is dry powder. Dry powder is best used on class A, class B, and class C types of fire. Like we have said about class A type of fire, there are those fires involving combustible materials. Then class B type of fire are the fires involving flammable liquids like cooking oil. Those are the flammable liquids. So class dry chemical powder can be used on those type of fires. Then class C type of fire is the fire involving gases. That's gaseous fires like, let's say, burning methane, or maybe gases that are flammable gases that are burning. So they can be used, dry chemical powder can be used on them. They can also be used on live equipment, live electrical equipment. Okay, but there's some concerns that the dry chemical powder will leave some residues on those electrical equipment, which might affect the conductivity or the functionality of that equipment. So these are part of the, these are some of the concerns being raised on using dry chemical powder on live electrical equipment. Now, the other type of fire extinguisher is foam. Foam is good for class A type of fire and class B type of fire. Foam is not good for gaseous fires because it's just like water. It will expand the fire and make the fire worse. Another type of fire extinguisher is CO2, carbon dioxide. This type of fire extinguisher is good for class B fires, which is the flammable liquids. They are not good for class C fires. They are good also for class A fires. They can also be used on class D fires. Okay, so wet chemical is another type of fire extinguisher that is better used on class A, can be used on class A type of fires, and it can be used on class F type of fire, which is cooking oil fires. Okay, so these are the fire extinguisher types that we have and how they are supposed to be used. So why we are talking about this is during our trainings or during our toolbox talks at the workplace, we should let the workers know the right type of extinguisher to use in the event of fire, so that they will not use the wrong one, which will end up making the fire worse. Now, there is a simple step used in operating fire extinguishers, and that is acronymed as PASS, P-A-S-S. That is pull, aim, squeeze, and sweep side by side. So this is the short form that we should all remember to communicate across. What are you pulling? You are pulling out the pin used in securing the lever of the fire extinguisher handle. So when you pull out the pin, you have kept it open and it's ready for use. So the next one you have to do is to aim at the base of the fire. So it's wrong to be aiming at the flames, because the flames is being originated from the base. You will not extinguish the fire. You will just waste the content of the fire extinguisher if you are aiming at the flames. So we should remember to let them know that you should aim at the base. That is where the fire is coming from. And you squeeze the handle. While you are squeezing it, where you are squeezing the trigger, you sweep side by side, so that will help to put off the fire as quick as possible. Now let's look at some types of fires that we can have in the workplace. The first one is electrical fires. So these are fires that originate from electrical equipment, and it's majorly due to misuse of this electrical equipment. That is where when these fires occur. It can occur from overloading of fuses. When the fuse or circuit or power outlets are overloaded in the workplace, this is one of the causes of electrical fire. It can also come from use of frayed wiring. When the wiring is already worn out, the insulations of the cable is worn out. So this can also be cause of that electrical fire. If there is loose ground connections, If the connections of these conductors are not properly done, it's very loose. So this can cause electrical fire. If the lighting machineries are in contact with combustible materials, like papers, like wood, like clothes in the workplace, if they're in contact with combustible materials, this can also trigger fire. Another cause is defective power tools. The power tools that we use, maybe the plugs is damaged, or maybe the power tools, the buttons, the on buttons are damaged, and we are still managing it. So this can also cause electrical fire. Now, in the case of electrical fire, what should we do? The first thing that should be done is to turn off the power source. Turn off that power source, the electrical power tools from the source, wherever the source is coming from, wherever that power tools is getting power from should be turned off. Then the fire should be extinguished using a CO2 type of fire extinguisher. And if the person is not trained on how to extinguish fire, or if the fire is getting very big, the next thing to do is to what? Is to evacuate immediately and trigger the emergency response procedure of that workplace. Another type of fire that we look at is chemical fires. So we all know that there are chemicals or there are liquids that are flammable. And if they are not properly handled and if they are not properly managed, there can be another source of fire in our workplace. So the first thing to do when handling any liquid is to look at the labels. We should teach our workers or our employees on how to identify the flammability of any chemical or any hazardous substance they are using. So this will help to know the type of control or the type of measures to put in place to prevent chemical fires. So on the labels, we'll see, if you look at the picture on the screen, you'll see the red colored one is showing the fire hazard numbers. So when the number is 4, if the number of the label is showing 4, it means that that chemical is highly flammable. And if the label is showing 3, it means it can ignite under normal temperature control. If it's showing 2, it means it can ignite with moderate heating. If it's showing 1, it means it can ignite when preheated. But if it's showing 0, it means it will not ignite. Okay, so this is how we should let our workers handling any chemical know of the numbers on the labels of those chemicals and what they mean. So this will also help us to put proper control measures in place to ensure that chemical fires are prevented. So how do we take care of flammable liquids in the workplace to prevent them causing fire at work? The first thing that we should do is to keep them away from ignition sources. Like we have said that flammable liquids are part of things that can cause fire, then we should keep them away from ignition sources. Because if the ignition source is close to that flammable liquid, then there is high chances of fire starting. So we should keep the flammable liquids away from any flammable source. Okay, so the next thing that we must do is we should keep the area well ventilated. The location where the activity is being done should be well ventilated. Maybe painting area or maybe area where they are doing cleaning with chemicals. There should be proper ventilation to ensure that there is no accumulation of chemicals or fumes in that location. Another thing to do is to ensure that the containers is well closed when not in use, so that there will be no evaporation of those chemicals. We should only allow people who are trained and who are familiar with the job to do the job. remove every clothing that have absorbed liquids. This is one mistake that people do, that after using chemicals or after cleaning chemicals with clothes, they think that cloth is a normal waste, and they put it in a normal combustible waste bin. No, that cloth that has been absorbed with chemical is no more part of general waste. It should go to chemical waste. So that is what we should be looking at for as well. Then all the chemicals should be properly stored at chemical storage area and where only authorized persons have access to it. Okay, another causes of fire is housekeeping in the workplace. If there is poor housekeeping, that the combustible materials are not properly managed and not removed, they get accumulated, then any slightest ignition source close to it will cause fire. If somebody smokes and drops any cigarette butts that is still carrying fire, the fire will start. So housekeeping looks very common, but it's very important steps to ensure that fire is prevented in the workplace. All flammable materials should be kept at designated locations, which is very far away from any ignition source. All clothes splashed with flammable liquids should be disposed properly in the chemical waste bin. Any flammable liquid container that is leaking should be repaired and should not be allowed to be kept in the workplace. Dust, if especially in carpentry yards or carpentry areas where wood dust is accumulated, it should be cleaned up immediately and should not be allowed to accumulate in that location. So materials should be stacked properly and should not be allowed to block walkways. Now let's talk about smoking. Smoking is another factor that causes workplace fire that people sometimes overlook due to we do not want to offend people, or you don't want people to see you as too harsh, that you are looking into their way of life. But smoking is one factor that causes fire incidents in the workplace. People smoking at non-designated area, or even at the designated area, there is no segregation of waste, there's no trash, there's no cigarette trash cans, and the area where the cigarette butt is extinguished is made of combustible materials. So this can also cause fire at that location. So we should ensure that smoking is done only at designated smoking area. Nobody is allowed to smoke near combustible materials like wood, papers, even flammable liquids. Fire extinguishers should be located at each of the smoking areas, and people smoking should be properly informed of the risk of fire due to smoking, and good ventilation should be in that smoking area so that if there is fire, it should be quickly seen and extinguished. Okay, so fire is something that everybody is familiar with, and it's something that we should all work together to ensure that there is no fire outbreak in our workplace. So the next line of discussion is for us to, we'll talk about our personal experiences. Maybe if you've had fire incident in your workplace, how you handled it, what happened. So this is an opportunity for us to learn from each other and know also how to prevent fire in our workplace. So thank you for paying attention, and it's time for us to contribute and learn from each other. I'll keep the floor open now for contribution. Guys, the floor is open. Anyone can go ahead and contribute. Are we there?
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yeah, can hear you.
Well done, sir.
Well done.
I really appreciate you for your well detailed explanations as regards fire. I just want to talk about some materials that people may not really show concern on. If you just go to any area and you carry some materials into the chemicals. Now it's very important that we talk about pyrophoric materials. These are materials like phosphorus. They can just ignite on their own. These materials should not be introduced in offshore areas. Now, if you introduce these materials, before you know it, even without heat, it just starts to burn. Before you know, you have set the area ablaze. Then it's also important that when we go to these restricted areas, to make sure we use intrinsically safe materials. You saw that when you are going to these zone zeros, like you said just now, you don't use they don't allow you to use phones because you know that phones can easily generate heat. Imagine going to where an area that they do cracking, where you crack hydrocarbon food. When you go to such area or control room area, when you go to such areas with phones, you are not allowed because this materials are not intrinsically safe. Uh, what you do is you use materials like, for example, a gas detector can be used in such areas. A uh, a, a walkie-talkie can be used in such materials. They don't generate heat, but they've been approved by FM to be used in such areas. So apart from that, I would discover that in combustible locations, offshore areas, don't use things that would result to ignition. Why am I saying that? You saw that most people that don't have that understanding, and when you bring the understanding to it, they will shun you. Understand? So those are the two things I just said, like adding to what you have discussed so far. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Majade, for bringing in your perspective to it. So that is one of the benefits of being here. I'll be listening to oil and gas experience, be listening to people from all walks of life, and we'll learn from each other. So thank you for letting us know and for that contribution. So someone else can take the floor.
Hello, sir. I just want to add something. Uh, I Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yes, I said some time ago why I just want to raise up something that I believe we will benefit from. Some time ago when I were working in Tank 10 in Escravos, we were making a bond wall that will contain crude if it happens, if an emergency takes place. Do you know that there was just a kind of a, a, a thunder, and just after that thunder, all the alarms in the all the fire alarms in the tank, they picked up. They were what they were set as an alarm. We discovered that just immediately, just after that uh, 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 that thunder, tank 10 picked fire. Why did it pick fire? Just because a small vote, what somebody would normally say, somebody wants to organize and say a little vote of uh, uh, occurred. So what am I trying to say? Fire in these areas, we don't play with, because every necessary, you don't, that's what I say is restricted. You are only authorized to work in such areas. You only go in when you are told to go in. Which an assessment or an inspection will already be done before you go in. But in going in or in doing these things is for the general safety of the workforce, the general safety of whoever will be what partaking in these areas to work. So that's just a little contribution I've got to make. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Omajede, for your contribution. Despite you are not in a closed environment, you still had it to contribute. So we appreciate the knowledge you are sharing with us. All right, let's hear from others, please. Are we still there, or we should close? Okay, I think there is no more contribution, so we can call it a day. Okay, guys, let's call it a day since we are all okay with what we have discussed so far. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for your time. See you guys next week.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
We appreciate.
Thank you, brother.
See you too.
Yeah, thank you, Mojede. Take care.